On November 22nd, 1963, the most powerful man in the world was alive at breakfast, smiling at crowds by lunch, and dead before the afternoon was over. But what if the official story was never the complete story? What if hidden inside classified documents, witness testimonies, intelligence memos, and decades of sealed files are details that still don't fully add up? Because even today, more than 60 years later, the assassination of John F. Kennedy remains one of the greatest mysteries in American history, and the final 48 hours of his life may contain the most disturbing clues of all. This is JFK's final 48 hours, what the files still hide. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because we explore history's darkest mysteries every week. Now let's go back to November of 1963. The Cold War was at its peak. America and the Soviet Union stood dangerously close to nuclear conflict. The Cuban Missile Crisis had terrified the world only a year earlier, and behind closed doors, intelligence agencies, anti-Castro groups, and political enemies were all operating in the shadows. Yet publicly, President Kennedy still projected confidence. On November 20th, the White House prepared for a political trip through Texas ahead of the 1964 election campaign. Kennedy would visit San Antonio, Houston, Fort Worth, Dallas, and Austin. The trip was meant to strengthen political support in a deeply divided state. But not everyone welcomed him. Dallas had developed a reputation for hostility toward Kennedy. Anti-Kennedy flyers spread throughout the city, political tensions were rising fast, and some officials quietly worried about security. But Kennedy insisted on openness. He wanted crowds, he wanted visibility, and most importantly, he wanted Americans to feel connected to their president. That decision would become historic. At the center of another strange timeline was a man named Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine, a man who once defected to the Soviet Union, and someone who had recently traveled to Mexico City under mysterious circumstances. Weeks before the assassination, Oswald visited both the Soviet and Cuban embassies there. The CIA monitored those locations heavily. Phone calls were intercepted, people were photographed. But years later, investigators uncovered something unsettling. Some intelligence reports described a man claiming to be Oswald who physically looked nothing like him. Even stranger, recordings connected to those calls allegedly disappeared. Was it a mistake? Or was someone intentionally creating confusion around Oswald before the assassination even happened? To this day, nobody can answer that question with certainty. November 21st, 1963. Kennedy arrived in Texas. Crowds gathered everywhere he went. In Houston and Fort Worth, supporters flooded the streets hoping to see the President and First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. Photographs from that evening show a relaxed and smiling Kennedy. He appeared calm, almost completely unaware of what was waiting for him in Dallas. But behind-the-scenes warnings continued. Just days earlier, UN Ambassador Adlai Stevenson II had been attacked by angry protesters in Dallas. Security concerns were raised again. Yet the motorcade route through Dallas remained public. Newspapers printed the exact streets Kennedy would travel through. Anyone could know where the president would be, including someone planning to kill him. The morning of November 22nd began normally. Kennedy attended a breakfast event in Fort Worth where he joked about criticism against him. Witnesses later described him as energetic and cheerful. Soon afterward, he boarded Air Force One for Dallas. When the plane landed at Love Field Airport, crowds immediately rushed toward the president and Jackie. The atmosphere felt hopeful. Warm Texas sunlight covered the runway. Kennedy smiled and shook hands. Jackie accepted flowers from supporters. It looked like a perfect political visit. But less than 1 hour later, America would change forever. At approximately 11:50 a.m., the presidential motorcade left the airport. Thousands lined the streets of Dallas. People waved from sidewalks and office windows. Secret Service agents followed closely nearby. As the limousine entered Dealey Plaza, everything still appeared calm. Then suddenly, gunshots echoed across the plaza. Screams erupted. Witnesses dropped to the ground. Others ran toward a grassy hill overlooking the road, later known forever as the Grassy Knoll. According to the official investigation, Oswald fired 3 shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. One shot missed. One struck both Kennedy and Texas Governor John Connally, and the final shot fatally wounded the president. At 12:30 p.m., the President of the United States was dying in the back of a limousine. The Zapruder film captured the horrifying moment on camera, and almost immediately, confusion began. Witnesses reported hearing shots from different directions. Some claimed they smelled gunpowder near the grassy knoll. Doctors at Parkland Hospital described wounds that later fueled endless debate among researchers. Then came the infamous magic bullet theory. The Warren Commission concluded that a single bullet caused multiple wounds to both Kennedy and Connally while remaining mostly intact. Critics called it impossible. Supporters defended the ballistics, and America became divided. But the story became even stranger after the assassination. Roughly 45 minutes later, Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit was shot and killed. Soon afterward, Oswald was arrested inside the Texas theater. When reporters questioned him, he denied everything. Then he delivered one sentence that would become legendary. "I'm just a patsy." And before the world could ever hear his full story, Oswald himself was killed. 2 days later, nightclub owner Jack Ruby stepped out of a crowd in the Dallas police basement and shot Oswald live on national television. Millions watched in shock. The only man officially accused of killing the president was now dead too. No trial, no testimony, only theories. Over the decades, investigators uncovered more disturbing details. Declassified files revealed covert CIA operations involving Cuba and organized crime figures during the early 1960s. Kennedy had also clashed with intelligence agencies after the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. Some historians believe powerful people may have viewed Kennedy as a threat. Others argue there is no solid evidence of a conspiracy, but secrecy only fueled suspicion. For years, assassination files remained hidden from the public, and even after millions of pages were released, many documents were still partially redacted. Officials claimed national security reasons. Critics believed the government was still hiding something. Even today, questions remain unanswered. Was Oswald truly acting alone? Did intelligence agencies fail to stop the assassination despite warning signs? Or did someone know more than they admitted? No theory explains every detail perfectly. And maybe that is why this story continues to haunt America. Because the assassination of Kennedy was not just the death of a president. It was the moment millions of Americans stopped fully trusting their institutions. Before Dallas, people believed history was stable. After Dallas, doubt entered the American consciousness forever. A smiling president entered Dallas that morning. A transformed America left it behind. And somewhere inside the missing pieces of the story, the final truth may still be waiting. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries. And tell us in the comments, do you believe the full truth about JFK has ever been revealed? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.